while self-help and self-development are subjects that might seem boring to some people, what they need to know is it unlocks a lot of possibilities. If you ask the why behind the why, you're made fun of. So that's a culture that should change in India. I think this aspect of shame stops a lot of people from growing online. It stops a lot of people from expressing themselves in office meetings, etc. So embrace the shame aspect. They say that money doesn't buy you happiness, but money definitely buys you experiences which can possibly lead you to happiness. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi Ranveer, first formal welcome on Success Gyan stage. We've been looking at you at 28. What you do, the work you do is truly inspiring. As Siddharth said, you're putting India in the global map, which is exactly what we want to do. I'm going to have a few questions. Plus, let's see if we can take a few questions from the audience also. The first one, the obvious one. I know you're 28. I did a little research on you. I know you're a big fan of self-help and personal growth, personal development. Can you tell me how did it start? What's the turning point? How did it start?
It honestly started at 18 by getting into the world of fitness. I grew up overweight. So the obvious choice at 18 is, hey man, you want to be attractive. You want to be an attractive man. You want to be an attractive adult. So it was a very materialistic surface level desire that began the fitness game. But I also noticed what the process of fitness did to my head. And eventually in life, I realized these same ideals you've applied to fitness and seen your own personal growth, you can apply to different domains. So that began, the meditation journey. Once these two happened, I figured that why not apply the same thing to career. So I got into personal finances, understanding how to manage my own money better. And I think with the power of all three, plus the power of content, that led us to starting businesses. So while self-help and self-development are subjects that might seem boring to some people, what they need to know is it unlocks a lot of possibilities for you. But you've got to put your mind and body through that process.
I think you're the product of the product, as simple as that. And all of us can see what you've created. And one of the questions I always wanted to ask my team and tell, I need to ask this question to Ranveer is at 28, you've seen money, fame, you've seen everything, but you're really grounded. How did that happen?
So honestly, I mean, it's not for me to say if I'm grounded or not, but I can tell you that I had 3 or 4 phases in this journey where I felt like in retrospect, it was getting to my head. And I'm just surrounded by the right set of people. I'm still very close to my childhood friends, and I'm still very close to the people I began this journey with, my co-founder Viraj Sheth. Even my co-founder on Level, what we're doing now is actually my senior from school. So these are the same guys who've grown up with me. And if they even spot something now, they're the first people to come and tell me. And that's what I really appreciate. I think after a point, you learn how to control your own internal demons, but you definitely need people to bring you to that point. So, I mean, if I had to give advice about this one thing, just surround yourself with your childhood friends as far as possible.
I totally agree, Ranveer. All of us need that 4 or 5 people who can tell us right in the face if something crops up because we don't see it, right? And
Yeah.
you're so right. I think the environment is very critical there.
Especially,
Yeah,
especially if you're single, sir. Especially if you're single, then you got to keep your brothers around you.
I guess so. Okay, from your life experience, if I have to ask you 5 success mantras, what would that be? Just 5.
That embrace your first big failure in life. That's the one that's difficult to swallow, but embrace it. It's very difficult to actually do it. It's easy to hear, it's easy to say, very difficult when you're going through that moment. So whether it's an exam you failed at, it's a failed business, even a failed relationship, embrace it, because it's kind of directing you to where you're meant to be. And you'll only understand that in retrospect. So that's the first one. The second one is ask the stupid questions early. I think for some reason in our education system, sometimes it's discouraged, not by the system itself, but often sometimes by coaches, by teachers. If you ask the why behind the why, you're made fun of. So that's a culture that should change in India. I still ask the stupid questions, like even now. No matter how stupid it might make me sound. The third is probably be a little shameless. I think this aspect of shame stops a lot of people from growing online. It stops a lot of people from expressing themselves in office meetings, etc. So embrace the shame aspect also. Be a little, like as we call it, muffat, like sometimes. The third is like work on your people skills, because in terms of your professional success, almost all of it boils down to people skills. Even when we talk about building good tech products, at its core, it's understanding human minds and people skills, and then that helps you in leadership, etc. And the fifth is, before figuring out the big plans in life that I want to do this and I want to do acting and I want to do sports, you have to sort out money for yourself. I'm a big geopolitics person. And while the whole world might bitch about China, I strongly believe that there's things to be learned from that nation. The top of which is everything that they're able to do on the basis of economic power. You can apply that to real life as well. Economic power unlocks a lot of possibilities. And they say that money doesn't buy you happiness, but money definitely buys you experiences which can possibly lead you to happiness. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, my same mantra. Money is not the key for happiness, but if you have the money, it's easy to find the key.
Yes,
As
sir.
simple as that. Okay, my
Yes, sir.
quick question. We believe in holistic well-being and success, Gyan, because I truly believe there's no point having money without health. There's no point having health without a great relationship. So you need to grow as a holistic well-being in all areas of your life. And we believe a critical mindset for that to happen is a mindset of lifelong learner. We call it LLL. What's your take on it for being a lifelong learner?
Yeah, it's something I learned from Ronnie Screwvala. It's why he switched over from UTV into running Upgrad, because he realized that the world is entering a zone like that because of social media. We talk about Gen Zs, kids born after 1998, and they are different. They have grown up with a world that was full of Facebook and Instagram. For us, it was different. I mean, I'm sure you would have been in college, or you would have been, like maybe a young professional at that time. I was a school student, but these kids were born into that world. So their usage of social media has changed the way their minds work, and they're very information hungry. Therefore, the world has become much more intellectual on an average. That also makes the world much more competitive, honestly. Let's call a spade a spade. And while I don't want to draw a negative picture, if you do want to kind of go past the competition, you will have to have that edge. So that's one way of looking at it. But what I also will say is what I learned from a big brother to me, Ankur Variku. He was one of the happiest people I ever came across in my life. When you speak to him, you feel happy yourself just talking to him. So I asked him what his happiness mantra was, and he said that the moment you start associating your own happiness with your sense of curiosity, you'll always be happy. Because say something bad happens in your life also, but if you've had a stimulating conversation and you learn to actually tie your happiness into that conversation, your happiness levels will always be kind of up there. And I've honestly seen that in my own life as well. So associate your happiness with intellectual growth. That's what I'd suggest.
That's a great way to tie it up. Perfect. Ranveer, we have these summits happening. One of the summits we are looking to start is Fitness Growth Summit, Wellness Growth Summit, and we really want to really work with you on a long-term basis because nobody else to talk about fitness than you, because that's been your core skill. And in the summit format, I think that'd be really great to work. So Ranveer, first, a big thanks to be here. And one last thing we want to ask, my team said you need to ask this question to Ranveer is, we want to know your morning routine. What's your morning routine?
Sure. So I think I've really discovered the power of something called Hatha Yoga, which the world knows as yoga, which is stretching. So I was a big WWE fan growing up, right? I saw a lot of wrestlers, like all of us, like everyone's seen the Triple H's of the world and the Undertakers of the world, every kid from that generation at least. And I started researching on what these guys are up to now, and they were all injured in life, like they'd taken beatings, and all of them adopted Hatha Yoga as a means to recover their body. So I was getting a lot of football injuries. Therefore, I thought, okay, let's get into this. And I realized how many mental benefits it also brought to my life. Just stretching, breathing patterns, all that. So the 3 hours of my morning before hardcore machine gun firing work begins is stretching, meditation, breathing, and relaxing. Just not taking any work calls, chilling. I will go through social media, but as a consumer, I'll relax before the storm begins. So that's what I really kind of focus on.